Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Raz. In this video, I want to go over my critical splash Amara build. Now, this is a sniper Amara build. They've been popular for a while, but this one's going to play into doing a lot of splash damage on top of just the generic sniper build. There's been some new gear that's came out with DLC 6, and Amara has gotten some additional skills to increase our splash damage. So I wanted to pair all that together, and this is what we came out with. I will say this build is actually very good. It can cover pretty much every single piece of content in the game, from mobbing to bossing to any takedown you need, and it is super fun to play. Now, as always, these builds are located in my Discord channel if you would like to download them. If you enjoy or download the file, consider subscribing. I'm on the road to 10,000 subs, and I would love to have you on this journey. I truly appreciate it. Now, since we are focusing on splash damage of snipers, we're going to be using none other than the Headsplosion. If you don't know, this is a Jacob sniper rifle that essentially just causes splash damage when you shoot it, and the note you have on it, you gain 300% increased weapon damage against enemies above 90% health. This is very good for mobbing. You're going to be phase grasping enemies in the air, locking them all together, and you're going to insta kill a whole group of enemies with just one shot from this thing. It's very fun. Now, the other snipers, we have the Sandhog. If you don't know, these actually do splash damage, which is really good. These are going to be your bossing weapons. As you see, I have phase casts on every single one of them because that is going to be what you use when you go up against a boss. And I have them in every single 3 main element: corrosive, incendiary, and shock. So no matter what the boss's health bar is, you're going to be able to destroy them. Now, for the class mount, we're going to be running the Phase Zerker. As you see, I do have 2 of them, but if you don't know, the Phase Zerker is going to give you max rush stacks whenever you use your action skills. So when you use your phase cast, you'll get essentially more damage for bossing, or when you use your phase grasp, you'll get more damage from mobbing. But this will give you a bonus weapon damage and action skill cooldown rate. But the additional stats I have on these are splash damage, Jacob's weapon critical hit damage, and sniper rifle damage, which is obviously really good for the Headsplosion. Then on the other one, I have the exact same thing, but with doll critical hit damage, which is obviously really good for the Sandhogs. Then for the grenade, I have an It's Piss with 4 different ASCs: shock, corrosive, cryo, and then incendiary. It's Piss is a very good grenade. You can apply debuff to enemies when you throw it and hit them. Then the reason I don't have radiation is because on my shield, I actually have radiation. So we're going to be pairing 2 different ASCs all the time. But getting into the shield, what makes this build very interesting is some of the new DLC gear. We have the Infernal Wish right here, which is going to always allow you to shoot an additional projectile when your shield is not depleted. Then the more you shoot, you're going to start self-combusting yourself and you'll eventually die, but that doesn't happen too often. But the one extra projectile is always going to be active when your shield's up. So the Headsplosion now just essentially gets 2 shots all the time instead of 1, which is going to increase your damage literally by double. Now, this doesn't work too well on the Sandhogs, but that is also why I'm going to be running a Revolter as well for bossing on axe skill start. So whenever you're going to boss, just make sure you equip this and a Sandhog, and switch your class mod over to the doll one, and you can melt any boss in the game. Now, for the artifact, I have the Toboggan, and if you don't know what this does, whenever you slide, you gain a protective bubble that reduces your damage by 50%, and you get the amp damage shot. So now, since you're going to be shooting 2 shots out at once, if you slide, you're also going to be buffing those 2 shots by 100%. So every single time you play this now, you want to slide to get a shot up, then just keep sliding, and you're going to be able to constantly kill people. Now, that might seem a little tedious to some people, but in mobbing scenarios, it's actually very good, because when you phase grasp an enemy, you could just simply slide and shoot them, everything dies. Slide, phase grasp an enemy, shoot them, everything dies. It's very consistent, and it's very fun. Now, the other class mounts I'm running is a Pearl, again for bossing. You can swap to this with your doll and everything else I was talking about. You can swap to, and you're going to be able to mount any boss in this game. Then I'll also have a Cutpurse launch pad here, since we are only running sniper rifles. This is going to be able to refill your sniper ammo from a distance away. And another thing to mention is that the Toboggan also is going to give you slide speed, so this is very good. Combined with that damage reduction, if you're trying to get through an area fast, since you are using snipers, you kind of have to play back. Since you're just moving really fast and have the damage reduction, you're going to be very tanky as well, which is nice. Now, getting into the skills, Mystical Assault is pretty much always a go-to for Amara. 5 do harm to buff for axe skill damage, which, if you don't know at this point, it does buff ties that bonds damage. So all the linked targets are going to take increased damage to do harm, which is really good. And we're going to be pairing ties that bond with stolen summon. So all the enemies that get linked by the chains are also essentially phase grasp in the air, and it makes it really easy to kill all of them. Now, 1 point Violent Tapestry. Again, I got to get to the bottom, but this will help keep rush stacks up. 3 points of Fast Hands, give me reload speed, weapon swap speed, and motion speed. Very good. 3 points of Transcend. Again, as I always say, one of Amara's best skills. This is going to give you more accuracy and critical hit damage whenever you use your axe skill. Not only is this good for mobbing, it's very good for bossing. 2 points in alacrity to get more reload speed. This is just some throwaway to get down to the bottom, but you will get a little bit more reload speed, which is nice, but it's not that needed with this build. Then 1 point in ascendant so we can buff Steal and Summon. 3 points in late bear to get 25% increased damage to whatever axe skill hits. Again, the chain targets will take additional damage, and for bossing, if you had the phase cast hits a boss, they will also take additional damage, which is nice. 3 points in Rasp, we get more gun damage, and even more when we use our axe skill. Pretty good for 3 points. 3 points in Awakening so we can buff do harm by a lot, which is nice. 1 point in Remnant. This is an insane skill from Amara. Whenever you kill an enemy, it's going to spawn an orb that's pretty much going to always go and kill another enemy. So essentially, when you kill an enemy, you're just always killing another enemy, which is great. 1 point in Avatar, so we're getting 10 bonus source attacks, and we can cast our axe skill twice for cooldown. So now we're going to have 2 phase grabs and 2 phase casts for bossing, which is going to always allow us to proc Transcend twice, which is really cool. Now, getting into Fist of Elements, we have 3 point steady hands, which is good for snipers. This is going to give you more handling and accuracy. Just makes that sniper gameplay feel more amazing. Then I have 2 points of Anima, which is getting buffed forward our class mod, but this is going to let me get down to the bottom. Anima's not really doing too much. But then 5 points is Tempest, so we get 30% bonus elemental damage or 20% bonus shock damage. Very good. Just additional damage on Amara is always nice. 1 point Illuminated Fist so we can buff our melee damage by 75%, and it converts to whatever element is. Now the reason I'm taking this is that's because it does work with sustainment. So whenever you melee an enemy, you do get this health regen on top of you just shooting enemies. If you do want to take 1 point out of Anima and throw it in Infusion so your Headsplosion can heal you with sustainment, that will also be viable. But just depends on however you want to play this, or if you want to try to slide up and melee them with the toboggan. Either way works. 3 points of Wildfire so we can get closer to the bottom, but this also is going to spread our elements, which is nice, which will help things with Armageddon. Then 1 point Dread. This is what I was talking about. You don't really need to worry about reloading too much with this build, because when you phase grass an enemy, you're going to kill them and it's going to instantly reload your gun, and you're going to pretty much always instantly kill every single phase grass target, so you're always going to have your gun reloaded. Then for bossing with the Sandhog, it pretty much only takes 1 clip to kill them, so you never really worry about reload speed with this build. But 1 point Deep Well, so we get 20% more magazine size with our elemental weapons, so that's our Sandhogs. 3 points Indiscriminate, so our bullets can ricochet, makes at clear for this build even more insane. 1 point Catharsis, so whenever you kill an enemy, they're going to explode depending on whatever element is affected on them. This does get Mayhem scaling, so it can pretty much insta kill some units, which is nice. We've already went over Sustainment, and I had 3 in Conflicts because of our class mod, but this is giving you an extra elemental effect chance, which will apply a different element on them, which again will help with the Armageddon Guardian rank skill. Then in Brawl, we have 3 points of personal space to get more damage close you are to an enemy. Even though we are playing a sniper build, this still procs a lot, and you get additional damage benefits, which is nice. 2 points of Clarity to give us a little bit of health regeneration, but I'm trying to get to the next skill tier. 1 point to Help Enhance because I had a point left over, so having 12% damage reduction whenever you use your action skill, which will be all the time, is a nice benefit to have. But 5 points in Arms Deal, so get 40% splash damage reduction and 20% more splash damage. So the whole theme of this build, we're doing splash damage. We're going to be doing even more right here, which is nice. Then over here, I have 5 points in Heavy Range, so we get more projectile speed and more splash damage. Projectile speed is very good for the Sandhog, and for the splash damage, very good for Sandhog and Headsplosion. So just some skills alone, we're buffing our splash damage about 55%, which is crazy. Then on top of our class mod, buffing it more. On top of our guns doing splash damage. And then on top of our artifact and shield, giving us a ton of damage bonuses, you're going to be blowing things up from afar and just insta-killing everything. So that's pretty much going to do it for the Critical Splash Amara build. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. This has always been one of my favorite builds in the game. I love phase harassment, a ton of enemies, and just sniping them and seeing everything die. You can use this with other weapons, but I was really playing to the theme of the splash damage and critical damage build, so that's why I went with these weapons. But this is a very solid build, like I was saying. It's going to pretty much let you do every single thing in the game that you need to get done, and you'll have a blast doing it. But that's going to be all for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.